Hello, I am Alexandra J. Johnson with the Entheos Academy for Optimal Living. Today I am chatting with the brilliant Chip Conley. Chip is the founder and the executive chairman of Joie de Vivre Hospitality. He is also the author of Peak: How Great Companies Get Their Mojo from Maslow. Hello, Chip. It's so wonderful to be chatting with you today.
Great to be here.
And very, very excited about your course, Peak. And let's start off with, your book is about Maslow and psychology, and how can we really use Maslow and psychology in our business?
Yeah, I was fascinated. I only took one psychology class in college, but I remembered Abe Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid in the shape of a pyramid very well because it was about self-actualization and the idea that we can all live up to our potential. And it seems like in the context of our work, that's one place where we certainly can understand the idea of self-actualization or being all that we can be. And the reason I got reacquainted with Maslow was because in the dot-com bust of 10 years ago, we're a San Francisco-based company. We were the largest hotelier in the Bay Area. The company was in trouble and I was in trouble. I was sort of thinking, what am I going to do to turn this company around? And I came across Abe Maslow's book in the bookstore. And initially I was reading it for myself. And then I just thought, well, gosh, if a person can be self-actualized, why can't a company?
So then you started taking these principles and these ideas about self-actualizing in your own life and then also in business, in your company?
Yet what we did is we reinterpreted Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which has 5 levels. The first level is physiological needs. Second level is safety needs. Third level is social belonging needs. Fourth level is esteem. And at the top of the pyramid is this thing called self-actualization, or being all you can be, living your life that, you're fulfilling what your purpose is on this planet. What we did is we turned that into a 3-level pyramid, which was survival, succeed, transform. And I call it the transformation pyramid. And that became this model that we used as we looked at our 3 most important stakeholders in our organization: our employees, our customers, and our investors. And so we kept asking ourselves, what's the higher need that our employees have that we need to try to actually address? Or what's the higher need that our customers have? Or strangely enough, even our investors. Sometimes investors don't seem like they're humans. But maybe investors are human, and what's the higher need our investors have that we could actually build upon? And by doing that, by creating a model that said we were addressing people's higher needs rather than their lower needs,
right,
create a very differentiated kind of workplace and company. And the level of loyalty that we had in the organization was much greater than anything we'd ever seen before. And we tripled in size during a very difficult time.
That's amazing. So you talk about the relationship truths. You have 3 relationship truths. So is that kind of the employee pyramid, the customer pyramid, and the investor? Can you talk about maybe start off with the employee first?
Let's start with the employee pyramid because almost every organization has employees. And so if you think of survival, succeed, transform applied to employees, first of all, let's recognize that each of us in our work has 1 of 3 relationships with our work. We can either have a job, a career, or a calling. So think of the pyramid: job, and in the middle career, and then calling at the top. So what's the survival need for employees? The job. Well, the job is basically the compensation package, money. So the baseline of what employees are looking for is money. And it's important, and not to say that there aren't companies out there and employees out there for whom that's the most important thing for them. But if you ask employees across the U.S. what's the most number 1 reason why people leave their job, money is usually the 4th place answer. So it's not the primary reason people leave their job. Primary reason people leave their job is because they don't like their boss. Second level of the pyramid, the success level of the pyramid, is recognition. So survival is money. So as a company, you need to do a great job of creating a compensation package. But that's not necessarily a huge differentiator versus other companies. A step above that is more differentiated, which is how do you create recognition, a culture of recognition? How do you create an environment where people recognize each other? How do you have an environment where people get caught doing something right as opposed to always getting caught doing something wrong? Now, that's the success level. That's the career level. When you're actually feeling recognized, you feel like you're having a career. The top of the pyramid, where self-actualization occurs for employees, is the idea that you have meaning in what you do. Meaning in what the organization does, and meaning in what you do. And when you have that sense of meaning, you're more likely to have a sense of calling and to feel that sense of transformation from a self-actualizing workplace. And that's the ultimate, because money and recognition are both what they call extrinsic motivators, external motivators. It's like a bartering system. The company provides you money and recognition, and you provide something in return. But meaning is an internal motivator. And I grew a company from 1 employee to 3,500 employees over the course of over 20 years. And what I've learned over time is when you have employees who are internally motivated, they're a lot easier to lead. So that's peak as applied to, and the relationship pyramid applied to the employee. Class, and the course we'll be doing, we'll actually go over each one of those levels: the recognition, the employee, the money level, the recognition level, the meaning level. And then we'll do the same for the customer pyramid as well as the investor pyramid.
That's so great. I love it. That's brilliant.
Well, what's been fun is to see, the book came out a few years ago, and to see companies like Zappos, Tony Hsieh at Zappos, he basically started using the peak as his Bible for how to grow Zappos. And Apple, when Apple did their retail stores, they did that way before I wrote the book. But the guy, Ron Johnson, who's the head of retail for 10 years at Apple, he said that he used Maslow to actually help create the retail stores.
That's
amazing. Or Conley Davidson in the 1980s was a motorcycle company that was going to go bankrupt because of the competition from the Japanese motorcycles. And they rebuilt the company based upon Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So what had never been told, the story that had never been told before Peak came out, was that there are a lot of famous companies out there that are admired that have used Maslow's hierarchy of needs as a means of helping the employees or the customers live a more self-actualized life. So I tell the story in the book, and the book is sort of the textbook for our course, the story of how it helped my company, but then I use everybody from Southwest Airlines to Whole Foods Markets to, the Geek Squad, telling their story about how they've used Maslow as well.
So awesome. I love it. And so let's talk a little bit about self-actualize. For some people that may be watching this and they're not exactly familiar, why do we want to self-actualize, and why do we want to use these principles in business?
Well, coming back to what Maslow originally said, is he said, back in the 1940s, he said, he has a famous quote. He said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a... Do you have an answer?
Nail.
Exactly. That was Maslow. You've heard it before, but you didn't know it was Maslow. And he said that to the psychology profession because psychologists generally thought of humans as broken, and it's the psychologist's job to fix them. Maslow said, what if there's a bunch of people out there who are not broken, who are living best practices in humanity? What if we learned something from them? And he went out and studied 1,000 people. And what he found is the thing that was most common amongst them was that they were self-actualized or fulfilled by life. They felt like their purpose on the planet, they figured it out, and in the context of their life, and quite often in their work, they were able to live up to that potential, and actualize their potential of themselves in the maximum way. So why would anybody want that? Well, gosh, I mean, do you want to just sort of be someone who just sort of plods through their day and just has a job in life, or just sort of feels like, well, I'm doing everything that everybody else is doing. I'm doing what everybody else told me to do. No, I mean, what feels most inspired in life, and when you have peak experiences, that's where the book title came from, peak. Maslow said when people have peak experiences when they're self-actualized, they have a tendency to have that sense of being at one with themselves and the world. Time has become timeless. And all they can feel is that this is exactly why they're here on the planet, and this is what they're supposed to be doing. And they'd rather be nowhere else. Wouldn't we all want that? And
Amen.
could you imagine it in your job, in your work? Well, that's the thing. People who are living their calling are actually living a self-actualized life in their workplace.
Wonderful. And so who is this class for? For everyone that wants to self-actualize?
Yeah, I mean, the class is really for everyone from what you could be a self-employed person who wants to figure out how to self-actualize and get yourself more motivated by what you're doing and feel more of a calling. That could be great. It's particularly good for people at organizations because the model for Peak is an organizational model, and we'll use the book as a textbook. And so for anybody who's a leader, you could be a leader, you could be a junior manager, you could be an assistant vice president, and have two people reporting to you. And the book still is valuable because what the book is it's like an operating manual for understanding humans. And one of the most neglected facts in business is that we're all human. We have operating manuals for our cars, and we have operating manuals for our computers.
Right.
We don't have operating manuals for humans.
Right.
So Peak is a bit of an operating manual for humans. You as a human, the humans you work with, and even your customers. So if you're in marketing or strategy or someone trying to figure out how to understand your customers better, the book, chapters 7, 8, and 9 in the book are all about customers and about how to actually mind read your customers so you understand the higher needs, the self-actualizing needs of your customers without them even telling you that. Because you're actually meeting what I call an unrecognized need of a customer, which is what the best companies in the world do, is they actually imagine the customer's need before the customer ever told them the need.
Wow.
When companies do that well, the customer says, I can't believe they know me so well. They are much, much more likely to both be loyal, but also to go out and tell the world about you. And Apple's the ultimate example of that, but there's lots of great examples of companies that we admire that are really good at creating a self-actualized customer. And there's 4 key themes how to do it. I'm not going to tell you them now because we'll talk about them in the course, but they're in chapter 9 of the book. But the long story short is that understanding humans and using Peak as your operating manual for understanding humans is really what the course is about, and that's why it's for everybody.
Fantastic, beautiful, awesome, and I love your passion and your enthusiasm, and just like, you're like in it. I love it. So.
Joie de vivre. I started the company when I was 26 years old, almost 24 and a half years ago. Joie de vivre means joy of life. And that's what I try to bring to my work is a joy of life. And I believe that each of us needs a mantra in our life, and my mantra is creating joy. In fact, that's what it says right here. Can you see that? There's a little blue band that all of our employees wear. It says "Create Joy" on it.
That's amazing. And I love this idea too of work being a place for meaning and transformation. For people to be wearing those bracelets, like that just gives me goosebumps, of their work is a place where they become a better human being.
Well, so that's a great point there. A lot of us actually tend to look at our work and I say, what am I getting from my work? Peak will help you ask the question, what am I becoming as a result of my work? Very different shift. What am I getting from my work versus what am I becoming as a result of my work? And the truth is, sad as it may be, we work long hours in whatever we're doing these days. And we have cell phones and iPhones. We have all these different ways for people to communicate with us, and we work long hours. So why do work that actually drains you? A job and a calling is a job drains you and depletes you, and a calling energizes you. So after you do 10 hours of whatever you're doing, if you love it, you're energized by it. Get 10 hours into it. But most of us in life, and that's why with a pyramid, most of us have a job. That's why at the bottom of the pyramid is job. Most of us have a job, and generally, for most of us, that means we're depleted by what we do.
Wow. So just one more question. People who do have jobs and would like to stay in their job, this is another way that they can kind of learn how they can use the job and be a leader in their corporation, right?
This is definitely, you're a leader. If you have no one you're leading yourself. And so clearly in the process of learning how to take your work from a job to a career to a calling, the book does that, the class does that. We even have a test at the end of the class on whether you actually have a job, a career, or a calling. It's the last chapter of the book, and it's a 15-question test that helps you know, after all of what you've learned, what is it that you have? Do you have a job, a career, or a calling? And then I'll make some suggestions about how to turn a job into a career or a calling.
It's so exciting. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Thanks for sharing this wonderful book, and very excited about the course for myself and all the lucky people who get to be in your vibe.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it, and it's a great opportunity to connect with people.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.